everybody. Welcome to Biters. This is Diane.
And this is Marnell. This is going to be a jam-packed episode. We'll try not to get ahead of ourselves.
Oh, that was bad. Oh,
I think of these things on the spot.
I'm just going to warn everybody now. I am relapsing in my coronavirus infection, and I'm feeling really awful again. So if I'm Sleepy Joe Biden during the episode, you'll understand why.
But you don't actually have the coronavirus, right?
As far as we know, correct.
You haven't been tested, but
right.
You are getting sick.
Right. I mean, I couldn't get a test anyway if I tried because I don't meet criteria. Never mind that I'm on the front lines as a healthcare worker. But, yeah. So we definitely have one case in Alaska that was confirmed last Thursday. And then you said you heard today that we have another case.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's coming.
Craziness. I'm sure we'll talk more in Housewives Corner.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, so we're here to talk about season 10, episode 12, Walk With Me.
Walk with us?
Walk with us. Sorry.
Yeah.
See? Told you. Sleepy Joe Biden already. All right. So what'd you think?
I loved it.
I did too.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. It was a really great episode.
You know, this is what we've been building to, and we still have 4 episodes left.
Right. Are you actually kind of surprised by the ending being this early in the season?
I am. But if there's actually synopsi? One of those.
Maybe?
Maybe. On IMDb for all but the last episode of the season. And it looks like just because we took out Alpha doesn't mean the Whisperer War is over. Beta's still out there.
Right. We still have Beta. Yes.
Yep. So
and that's
we have that.
Pretty consistent with the way things were in the comic book.
Yeah. And then, of course, next week is a standalone episode. It's the Michonne show.
Right. And possibly the last with Denai Guerrera.
Right.
Probably the last with Denai Guerrera.
I am so upset that there was no Talking Dead.
Oh, I know. It was really hard to be without talking.
So we have lost some characters. I mean, we lost, what was her name? Started with an L. Beta killed her.
Oh, Laura.
Laura, thank you. I keep wanting to say Lydia, but I'm like, no, that's not right. Laura, and she didn't get a Talking Dead episode, and now we lose 3 major characters.
Right.
And we don't get a Talking Dead. It's rough.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they will come back and they'll have everyone on and everything, and I get why they did it. Don't get me wrong. I totally am on board with the whole social distancing and everything. But, Chris Hardwick is no stranger to podcasts, and he could interview people via video without a studio audience. So,
do we know how long Talking is going to be dark?
No.
Okay. I didn't get a sense of that either. I mean, I was thinking initially just a couple of weeks, but now, I mean, we've got states talking about shutting down school for the rest of the school year.
Mm-hmm.
Even the president today was talking about this possibly rolling through July and August.
Yeah.
So who knows? Things are pretty interesting right now.
Everyone is just going to have to adjust to the new normal. Yeah, we'll get into that.
I'm sure we will. All right, give me your rating for this episode.
4.8 Walker Walls.
Very good.
I rated it pretty highly.
Well, I was influenced by Thomas O'Mara's rating that he texted me, so I stole his rating, but he didn't give me his manner in which he was rating it. He just gave me his number. So mine is 4.85 cherry cheesecakes to the kisser out of 5.
Oh, we will so talk about QG.
And it's too early for any numbers, but I just wanted to point out that the number that we had last week, 2.93 million same-day views for last week's episode, was documented as the first time that Walking Dead has fallen under 3 million.
Yeah, that's an all-time low.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Still, I would like to see AMC's online numbers.
Yeah, they would be smart to publish that. I don't know that we'll ever see them, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
All right, my nose is totally running. My God. I am dying, and it's not COVID-19.
You better catch it.
Right? So excuse me while I snort, and I'm all hoarse, and ugh, gross. All right.
So the title.
Yeah.
Obviously, Walk With Us, being part of the Horde, Alpha wanted the Hilltoppers to, be part of the Horde, and Negan is walking with them, and yeah.
Well, I think it was specifically Beta saying to Gamma, "You will walk with us."
Mm-hmm. And then Alpha wanting Lydia to walk with her.
Oh, yeah, and we're totally going to get into that, because that was weird.
Yeah.
But the thing that I really took away, I mean, yeah, all of the different people who were potentially going to walk with the Horde, but definitely, specifically Beta's words to Gamma.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say now, even though it's a rotting potpourri thing, I am so grateful that Alden took the headshot and did the coup de grace, so she didn't have to do that.
We'll get into that. I said, we'll try not to get ahead of ourselves this episode.
So our writers are both people who have one other credit to their names as far as Walking Dead writing goes. Eli Journay, I think that's how you say his name. He also wrote What It Always Is, which is an episode for 2019. And we talked about him quite a bit when we featured him because he wrote the short, The Trial of Han Solo. And you went and watched that, didn't you?
I did. It's on, I believe it's on YouTube. And it is super funny. And definitely the very, very end, it's almost like kind of an after the credits scene, was probably the funniest part. So stick around for that if you seek it out and do find it.
I still need to watch that. I've got so much stuff that I need to watch. Oh my God. All right. And then Nicole Morante Matthews was our other writer. I want to point out that she's from Seattle. Hey, Seattle. She and Eli both have been producers for multiple episodes of Walking Dead. Mm-hmm. The other episode that she wrote on was We Are the End of the World, which was the really creepy Beta Alpha backstory.
Yep.
And she has worked on Luke Cage, NCIS, and Law and Order Criminal Intent. It's been a while since we've talked about Law and Order. And then our director was Nicotero. And what can you say about Nicotero? I mean, he always... I think I've never had a complaint about an episode that he's directed.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And I was thinking about, in particular, the gag that it was for Alpha to get her throat slashed, and it was probably really good that he was in on constructing and directing that gag.
Oh, why's that?
Well, don't you remember when they talked about the scene where Amy got killed in season 1, and she was talking about being really grateful that Greg Nicotero was the person who bit her? Because it was so close to her jugular vein.
That is right.
So I'm kind of thinking similar for Beta's makeup.
Yeah.
Or not Beta's, Alpha's.
Alpha's, yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
Mouse is with me and she's totally digging in her own little bed right now. So her bed is back in the back room, the pod room, so that the other dogs can't molest it. So every now and then she gets a special treat and gets to come back here with me and hang out in her bed.
Oh, Mom's playing favorites.
Oh my gosh, she's doing so good. She's so fat. And that makes me happy because she was so underweight when the rescue got her.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we didn't talk about a featured cast. I did go and look at Samantha Morton because we lost her this episode.
Right.
And she is, I didn't look super hard, but she's actually credited for the next 4 episodes in this season.
So there was an article that came out in the episode that Connie and Magna got buried in the cave that said that they were deliberately keeping everyone's names in the credits, whether they were known to be dead or not.
Just to kind of keep the mystery.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I think some eagle-eyed viewers started noticing that people weren't going to be credited in like the next episode, and so they knew who was going to die. So
I wonder if we'll see some flashbacks featuring her, or if it was truly just that they kept those on her IMDb credits.
Right.
I didn't see any new credits. We had kind of talked about some of the other stuff that she was working on when we talked about her the first time we featured her. So she still has credits for Harlots, which they have not assigned names or dates to those episodes yet, but then they only had it listed as happening in 2018 and 2019, so I don't know if that series is done.
It is done.
Is it? Okay.
It did not get a third season, which I'm very disappointed about because of the way that they left it, and that's all I'll say.
Okay.
But it was, I loved it. I absolutely loved the whole 2 seasons, every single episode. It was very well done. Samantha Morton was great in it. I can't recommend it enough.
I wonder if they'll revive it now that she's not on Walking Dead.
Maybe. It was on Hulu.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's some sort of like non-compete contract, or if maybe like Hulu will sell their properties to Netflix or to, I don't know, like Lifetime Network or whatever, like HBO. I probably have to be HBO considering the subject, the content.
Right.
Because there were a lot of boobies.
That's funny.
So yeah, I would love to see a season 3 if that were ever possible.
Well, it'll be interesting to see where Samantha Morton goes from here. I mean, I think that she has become a household name in a way that she wasn't before, so she's probably going to be more and more in our consciousness now. But
a household name in the U.S.
right.
more than she was.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you're exactly right.
For our international listeners, you guys knew her very well.
Right. So for the Housewives Corner, I don't have a whole heck of a lot. I have to say I've been pretty obsessed with the novel coronavirus since Thursday, since we had our first case diagnosed up here. And I really feel like the tone has really shifted. Mm-hmm. For me, pretty much the tone shifted on that day. So I've just been kind of immersed in that and immersed in thinking about our response and kind of what we're looking at coming up. And, as a healthcare provider, I'm really worried that we don't have enough ICU beds to meet the need.
Yes.
Yes. So I really... go ahead.
Ventilators.
Right. Vents. Yeah. I'm really worried about that. I mean... You read it. I blogged this weekend, and even if we pick kind of the lesser of the worst case scenarios, we're probably looking at about 7 million people who get seriously sick in the United States, and we've got just a little under 1 million ICU beds, or I'm sorry, just a little under 1 million hospital beds, and right around 100,000 ICU beds in the U.S. So it's pretty grim, and we're starting to see young, healthy people get taken down by this. There's actually an ER doc in Seattle who took care of multiple people in the emergency room who is now in the ICU, and he's 40.
That's how old I am.
I mean, those people are the outliers. It's still really the medically fragile and the elderly who are very high risk, but we're seeing more.
The last statistic that I saw a couple days ago was the average age of infection is 60 years old. That's the average. And the average death age of patients who die of it was 80. So I don't know if that's maintained, but that kind of gives me a little bit of hope.
Yeah, I think we're really just seeing the first wave in the US. I think that it's going to get a lot more grim.
And of course you always have to. I'm always wary of sourcing your material and things that you see online and everything. But I did see a graph that showed our timeline now versus Italy 2 weeks ago. And we are like literally step by step, like 300 cases this day, then it goes to 800 cases the next day, and then it goes to, thousands of cases the next day. And so we are kind of on the same path as that. And I really, really hope that maybe we learned a lesson from the other places that have shut down. And yeah.
I don't know, man. The people who were partying in Nashville this weekend and at Fort Lauderdale today don't give me a whole lot of hope.
Yeah.
So I guess what I really want to say is, we've been kind of joking about washing your hands, but really wash your hands.
Avoid close contact.
Don't go to the ER unless you're really sick, because the resources are going to need to be preserved for people who are really sick from coronavirus infections, but also people who are sick from other things like heart attacks, strokes, car wrecks.
Broken legs.
Those resources are still going to need to be there in the midst of all of this. So
right.
Please do not go to your hospital, your urgent care, your doctor's office unless you are really sick.
Really sick.
And if you're thinking about going to your doctor's office, call ahead.
Yep.
Because a lot of offices are shifting to telephonic visits. A lot of offices have screening tools in place so they can make recommendations about what to do. So it's definitely worth a phone call.
Our hospital has actually set up a tent outside specifically for, patients who believe they have corona. And so you're not supposed to just walk into the ER. You're supposed to go into the tent and they will assess you and probably, glove you and mask you and, all that kind of stuff. So
and not swab you because we still don't have tests.
Nope. No, but they're taking people with suspected symptoms basically in through a different path.
Yeah.
So that they bypass the waiting room and the triage nurse and all of that. So what I have to say about it is we're headed for kind of a dark time. Diane and I have a very gallows sense of humor about everything because she works in healthcare and we both grew up with kind of a rough life. So, you got to keep a sense of humor about it, or it can really get to you. And we joke about it. I'm still going to send memes because, God, they're funny.
Yeah, there are some good ones. By the way, snorting emergency sounds like a good idea at this point.
I literally, not that it's like going to keep me from getting the coronavirus, but the first thing I do when I get to work is I heat up some water and I open 2 packs of emergency, dump them in and drink that after I wash my hands. But so, we're headed for kind of a dark time, and it's not just because people are going to get sick, friends and loved ones are going to get sick. And for some of us, it's really just going to be a kind of a minor inconvenience for the most part. Like myself, I have paid leave. I can work from home. I am in a high risk group. So yes, I am trying not to get sick. I'm doing everything that I can to not get sick. But if I do, it's going to hopefully just inconvenience me.
Just so people don't really freak out, she just has incredibly bad asthma, which is not anything to brush off because, yes, you are very high risk because of the severity of your asthma, but Marnell is not dying.
No, 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 no. I'm slightly immunocompromised and I have terrible asthma. So, um, but the one thing that I am worried about is there's a lot of people out there that this is not just going to be an inconvenience for them. This is going to hit them financially.
Oh, yeah, very hard.
Yes. I have a lot of friends who own small businesses, and, we all know someone who is a waitress or a bartender or, whatever has been shut down. Our local theater tonight just shut down basically until further notice. We have another smaller theater that plays like the reel-to-reels, the old reel-to-reels. They shut down. I mean, it's basically becoming a ghost town, and there's going to be a lot of people who are not only worried about getting sick and getting their family getting sick, but they're also going to worry about where their next paycheck is going to come and if they're going to be able to make rent.
Yeah, so
And
definitely if you can support a small business.
Mhm. And so on top of all of that, we're being asked to isolate ourselves. And I really hope that people don't feel as isolated as they should. You can always reach out. You have social media, you have the internet, we're a very connected society, so don't lose those connections. Do a Facebook Live, Skype with somebody, that kind of thing. Don't feel like you're stuck alone and you have all of these worries, because people care about you, whether you think so or not. And, you're not alone.
I do want to say on that note, check on your elderly friends and neighbors. Make sure they have what they need. If you're young and
Absolutely.
healthy and you're able to go to the grocery store and they can't, if there's something you can do for them, that's pretty cool.
Yes. Definitely help take care of your friends and neighbors. If it's one thing the Walking Dead family knows, is you can't always expect someone to come and rescue you, but you can go and help somebody else when they need rescuing. So just like if you were going down in a plane, put your own oxygen mask on first and then help somebody else.
But I do have to say, all of you who are hoarding toilet paper and Kleenex, you will get yours.
And yes, on that note, if you are somebody who bought too much, if there's somebody out there in desperate need, and I'm sure they are posting on Facebook because I have seen many, many posts for diaper wipes here in Juneau. If you bought too many, give one up. Like, I did not panic shop, and so I think my panic shop would have entailed buying 2 cases of toilet paper, no, it's like one every month and a half. I think maybe I'd have bought 2. I would not have bought a dozen. Yeah.
Yeah, there was nothing on the shelves today.
Yeah.
And
Nothing.
I'm not a hoarder, so we've got like a week's worth of toilet paper left. I'm just hoping there's more by next week.
Otherwise, you're headed to Home Depot for a bidet toilet conversion kit.
Right? Exactly.
So, on that note, back to the show.
Yeah.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
Well, which is really funny because in Whisperer's Corner, because the first thing we're going to talk about, of course, is the coronavirus.
Mm-hmm.
So Walking Dead Season 11 pre-production was halted. Fear filming was stopped.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, talking is off the air. But actually, I looked at an article by Paul Tassi today, and other stuff like Riverdale, The Wheel of Time, which I believe Amazon has optioned, Flash, third season of Stranger Things, even movies that are done and ready to be released, like Mulan and The New Mutants, all of those things are on hold right now.
Well, and I was actually, there was the weekend before last, I really wanted to see a movie, but I was like, no, it's one I can kind of wait for video. And then this weekend I looked, and there is just nothing playing. So I think a lot of release dates have been pushed back because people are encouraged to not go to theaters. And like I said, our local theater here did shut down. So, and let me tell you, this theater is open 365 days a year. And I know that because I used to work there, and I worked Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that was not something that was taken lightly by the owners. I have to know that. And it's going to be a big hit to them.
So we don't have any plans that I've heard articulated in our area by our local government to shut anything down yet, but I'm sure it's just a matter of time.
I was going to say, as of 8:00 on March 16th, it could change in any, literally. So I work in the public health director's office for the state of Alaska, and you're in healthcare. And then the other housewife works in public health for Anchorage. So we are all very, knee deep in this 5 days a week, 8 hours a day at the very least. And then you hear about it everywhere all the time, and it's affecting everything, from oil prices to stock markets to, people hoarding supplies. And so, it is very, very overwhelming. And
now it's impacted Walking Dead.
Yes. So, I mean, I might actually have to start reading books again.
Oh my God. I have been reading the same book for like 6 weeks now, and I'm so done. But now I'm like 60% into it, and I'm like, I just need to finish it.
So do you know what? Oh, God.
If I'm going to die of COVID-19, do I really want this to be the last book that I read?
Oh, I'm going to put that on your gravestone.
Right.
This is the last book she read.
Yeah, just so you know, it's called Sweet Ruin, and I don't recommend it to anybody. Ugh, terrible.
I actually, I came in the office the other day, and we have like an entire wall that is nothing but mostly mass market paperback books, and they are stacked too deep in their shelf. Because my other half is a book hoarder. But I realized that I had lent a friend my copies of the Mira Grant Newsflesh series.
Oh, yeah.
And she moved out of state, and I've never gotten them back. So I ordered some. I ordered the full book on Amazon, because I just feel like right now it's a really good time to reread. I mean, it was a zombie story, but it was an infection zombie story. And they actually went through a lot of the things that we are going through now, where, you go into a building and you decontaminate at the door, and you're checked for infection, and, there's very minimal contact, and we're all doing things through the internet. We all work from home. And so I have this urge to reread the Mira Grant Newsflesh series, which I know we have talked about ad nauseum.
But they're great. They're totally worth reading. Yeah, so if you're quarantined for 14 days and looking for something to read, we both highly recommend that series.
Yep.
Not Sweet Ruin by Kresley Cole. Don't do it. All right, so next up in Whisperer's Corner, there was an article on Insider.com about things that you may have missed about the episode that we just watched. And actually, most of the things that they highlighted were things that were pretty obvious. I didn't really see anything that any of us would have missed. But they did have a little tidbit from Ryan Hurst, and he says that his reason for wearing the mask will be pretty clear by the end of this season.
Oh, well, I think it was kind of obvious in this episode.
Yeah, I mean, we know that he's somebody famous, and we think he's probably a country singer, but it sounds like it's going to be even more clear than that, so we'll see.
The guy's all, I recognized your voice.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I just have a little bit by Paul Tassi and Eric Kane. Paul Tassi actually said that he thought The Walking Dead managed to improve on the best death in the comics, which was Alpha's death. And he's been kind of lamenting, probably for about the last, I don't know, at least all of season 10 about how a Walking Dead needs to have an end in sight. They really need to get their story dialed in. And this time he said, if Angela Kang continues on the role she's on right now, I can watch it forever. So I thought that was interesting. And then Eric Kane just basically said that this was his favorite episode in a long time, and it was definitely his favorite episode in season 10.
Yeah.
But Whisperer's Corner was pretty dead, no pun intended.
And I don't know if we're going to see a lot of info come out since, coronavirus has sort of ruined the party again.
Right. All right, now we're on to goods, bads, and uglies.
This is rolling right along. I was
know.
for one, we have a lack of cast members that we haven't done. But I also was like, I have a legal size pad of notes and a half to talk about. So I was like, we can cut out the featured cast members. So in the interest of time.
I've got to tell you, I'm pretty dead. So you're going to have to prop me up, man.
Prop you up against a tree and watch you turn.
Yep. All right. So go ahead. Tell me you're good.
Good, honestly, was the end.
Yeah,
How
really?
could it not be? The look of shock on Alpha's face when he slit her throat. And then, his sort of, gentle way he sent her off. I mean, he even kissed her on the lips, which, social distancing, dude. I mean, there was blood actively coming from her mouth.
So he seemed really stricken. I mean, he talked about being dead to this world, but he was very emotional when they were talking about Lucille. And he seemed very stricken after he killed Alpha.
Well, and his care for Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
So he's not quite as cold and dead inside as some of us are.
Steve.
And then when I saw that, of course, I have not read that far in the books, but I did know how it happened in the books and what happens after that. So I was like, is he really going to cut off her head? And then, of course, you see the bloody, sack, and he tosses it to someone, and it's Carol.
Yes.
And she says, took you long enough. And so it just confirmed everything that we had talked about and a bunch of other fan theories.
So we have to give props to Thomas O'Mara, and you and I were trying to figure out, was it Thomas or Brian who predicted that it was Carol who let Negan out and that this was a whole thing to get Negan ingratiated so he could kill Alpha? And it was Thomas who said that. He and I were talking about it this morning. So props to Thomas.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was a good twist. I didn't... Yeah, it surprised me.
Yeah, and of course, it obviously was not the way that it happened in the book because Carol's been long gone.
Right. We'll talk about that too.
Yeah, I'm just there. It opens up so many questions, both good and bad. I mean, where does Negan fit in now in our little society, and where does Carol fit in? Because Carol still comes off looking like a massive dick.
Yeah, no, that's a huge thing for me. I mean, what I wrote in my notes is Carol's arc done? Where does Carol go from here?
Well, think about it. All of this time, she has had this plan with him that you're going to get in there, you're going to burrow your way deep, and you're gonna be the one that kills her, or you're gonna bring her to me to kill, or something like that. She knew he was an inside man for her, and she still made all of these really dumb decisions that nearly got people killed, and it put everyone's lives in danger, and so that makes her look like a bigger dick in my book. Is things were playing out that, yeah. you did not have to keep running after her the way you did.
Yeah, not sure where we go with Carol. Not sure where we go with Negan. I'm wondering if they're gonna actually do with his character what they did in the comic. It'll be interesting.
And I'm wondering how this is going to affect Lydia.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she knows her mom's a psychopath, but it's still her mom. And, her and Negan were kind of, pals a little bit. He's rescued her more than once. And, I don't know how she's going to feel about how all that went down. So we've got
we saw that on Lydia's face when he approached her. When
Yeah.
she realized who it was, her face kind of lit up and she was really happy. And then he clocked her upside the head and said, "Sorry, kid."
And then tied her up in a shack, like, because I would have been like, okay, you tied me up in a shack because you're like gonna bring my mom to me or so. I would have thought the worst, of course, because I'm tied up in a shack.
Right.
So kudos for her for getting out of that too, man. She fought like hell.
She did.
So, what was your good?
So I really struggled which thing to put as my good and which thing to put as my ugly, which of course is a good ugly. And I ultimately decided that my good was Judith. And it was really specifically two moments. It was the moment where she killed the Whisperer. Mm-hmm. Because, it was either Paul Tassi or Eric Kane who made the point that she didn't actually kill the Whisperer, but she really did. I mean, she gutted the person. And then
he died as a result of injury.
And then watched him die. And watching her have that realization was pretty profound. And then watching her have to administer the coup de grace to Earl. Yep. I just really feel like Judith has always been really precocious and really older than her age. But she really grew up in this episode.
Yeah.
She's always kind of been a kid for all that she's been a very serious little character. And this time I feel like she got some really harsh lessons that she hasn't had before. Yeah,
we've seen her kind of progress to this level. And, all of our characters do it. At Alexandria, they still ask the 3 questions, And so Judith started out killing walkers, which is kind of natural in the zombie apocalypse. And 2 episodes ago, she shot Beta.
Right.
So she shot another human being, but it was a Whisperer. So it's like, okay, it's kind of like a zombie, and he's a bad guy, and he's after us. And then this episode, she, guts that one Whisperer, but he falls down and is begging for his life. So, it sort of ramps up from there, and then having to give the coup de grace to somebody who, she cared about in her community is just, you could see it on her face, and good for her for, she's such an emotive actress at her age. She's going places.
Yeah, she's a really great little actress.
Just this progression to where she is now. And, you knew she'd get there someday, and it wasn't going to be easy, but God, it had to be today.
And that moment with her and Daryl after he finds her was really great too.
It was just, there was no dialogue. It just sitting there, and that happened. It's okay.
All right. So tell me about your bad.
My bad has to do with Alden.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. And I have seen this in many places, but of course we both screamed it at the TV at the same time. So, why was his first arrow not through Beta's head?
Someone else made that point. I can't remember what I was reading, but someone else made that point. It was either Tassie or Kane. But yeah, exactly that.
Shoot Beta and then shoot Gamma / Mary. Oh,
Well, I guess it's
He
that,
totally missed an opportunity.
it's that human response, though. It's that horror and that empathy and that human response. So that's probably why he responded the way that he did.
Yeah, but you let the bad guy get away. Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
he did.
I'm kind of butthurt over that.
Well, I was truly grateful that he took Gamma out the way that he did, though.
I was too.
I was a little bit frustrated by his ego earlier on in the episode where he wouldn't let her have the baby and wouldn't let her have the baby and then finally gave the baby to her because I thought, ooh, you're letting your ego make things even more dangerous by
Yes.
not calming this baby, by not quieting this baby.
Yes, I actually have a big long rant written down about that. Um, the crying baby, like you just couldn't hand it to Mary. Like a crying baby in the zombie apocalypse gets you eaten, you know?
Yes.
Like, yeah, you don't like her. You think she's horrible and everything, but if she knows a way to soothe that baby and get it quiet, just hand her the dang baby.
Especially when you're running under bad circumstances.
Yeah, and he had to have been tired from carrying her. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like that. It's not like he was carrying her in a carrier or a sling or anything. He was carrying her in his arms. So,
Him, but yeah.
oh yeah, him. And that was no like infant baby. That was a larger child.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that annoyed me about Alden this episode. And then not taking the shot when he had it annoyed me. So Alden's not on my zombie apocalypse survival team or my coronavirus survival
That's
team.
funny.
I'm going to cough on him when I see him.
Well, the other housewife is on my coronavirus survival team because she texted me tonight and said she did have some toilet paper stashed if I needed some.
Well, you saw my solution.
Yeah. All right, so my bad, and we've been kind of down this road before, but it's taken on yet another life, is the Magna Yumiko thing. I don't know. Did they break up? Did they reconcile? I have no idea. It looked to me like they broke up, and then they were sitting there holding hands, and I still don't know what the heck the writers are trying to accomplish with this couple.
So I was kind of in the same boat. And then I was like, okay, I think that they've sort of forgiven each other for the fight that they had and how they left things. And they're very grateful that the other one survived. But let's get through what we're getting through now and we'll address whether or not we're still a couple. You know?
Yeah.
I think they had to put it on pause.
I don't know. I just really didn't like. I'm not liking what they're doing with this couple, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like, and we talked about it the episode when Magna was such a brat. I don't like how, like, just out of the blue and abrupt it was. You know, it was. Magna just, like, turned on a dime, and all of a sudden she's, like, just ticked off at Yumiko for. I don't know. You know?
Yeah, it hasn't made a whole lot of sense.
No.
And can I just tell you, Nadia Hilker has giant lips. She looked kind of bizarre. All right, I have one more bad, and it's a little bad, but Ezekiel under a dumpster. All right, you know I love the king. I am glad that he is still with us for a little bit longer. I know his death is imminent, but really finding him under that sheeting,
Sheet
that
metal.
tin roof, I mean, I was like, really? Come on.
And our thing with that was, well, obviously Beta didn't look everywhere for Lydia.
Right?
Dude's falling down on the job. No
Yeah.
wonder why he's Beta.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
So, if you get an extra bad, I get an extra bad.
Okay, go ahead.
God, can Eugene just ever speak normally? Like,
It's kind of the charm of the character, though.
okay, I can take it in small doses. He's ODing me on his idioms. Like it's just it's too much. Like are these even a thing? Is getting hit in a cheesecake with a whatever it was like
A
is that
cherry cheesecake in the kisser.
yeah, like
Which I had never heard that expression before, but I thought it was pretty funny.
I think he's just making these up.
Well,
Like,
yeah.
oh, like I'm just like, dude, talk normally, please.
Okay,
Like for five.
this is running potpourri, but how do we feel about him getting a blessing from Carol to go and meet Stephanie? I thought that whole duo and that dynamic was kind of bizarre because Carol and Eugene really haven't had much of a relationship in all of the years that they've been a part of the same group.
No, and I don't think I would take relationship advice from the community outcast. That's just me.
Good point.
Yeah, like, might want to get a second opinion, Eugene.
Although Rosita's not there to give it to him, so...
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so tell me about your ugly.
My ugly was not only a good ugly, it was a hilarious ugly. Negan trying to herd that walker.
Oh my god. So that was great, and his walker walk was terrific.
Even the other walker, like the dead guy walker, even he kind of had like a little shoulder shuffle thingy going on. Like, it's like they were kind of dancing around each other.
Yes, and that's exactly what I wrote too, that there was this little dance between the two.
Yeah, and like, you know, Negan just throwing up his hands. It was so funny.
Yes, I would agree. That was a funny scene, and his decision to go ahead and beat the dude anyway after just getting chastised by Alpha was pretty funny.
Right? Oh, that scene actually, there were two scenes that made me laugh out loud, and that one was one of them. Like, I actually rewound and rewatched it because it's just, they just circle around each other, like kind of, you know, bebopping around, and it was, yeah. It's great. And
I love the way he incorporated Lucille into his walker walk.
Oh, to drag it.
Just kind of the way that he held the bat while he was kind of, you know, awkwardly shuffling that leg. Mm-hmm. It was really great. He has a great walk.
Yeah.
He gets an A+ in zombie school.
So what was your ugly?
Well, mine was a good ugly, but mine was definitely a tearjerker ugly, and it was Earl. I mean, I texted you that I haven't cried like that since Beth and Herschel. It really made me cry. And when Judith said something about him not being alone, and he said, "Oh, honey, I'm not going to be alone. I have Tammy and my son." I was like, whoa!
Yeah. And plus, I mean, it was such a difficult scene itself beyond the talk with Judith, and that this guy knew what he had to do.
Yeah.
And I actually wrote down, I was like, I don't think I could do what he did. I mean, he didn't do it well, but I don't know that I could do it myself. What I would have done is I would have walked outside and tied myself to a tree. You know?
He didn't want the kids to know.
Yeah. But I mean, again, if Judith hadn't been there and being who she is, that would have been a nightmare scenario.
And, you know, I was thinking about it because we always talk about how they give people the big hero moments and then take them out. And we actually should have seen it when he gave his big pep talk last week. I mean, he was really great when Hilltop was getting attacked. And I didn't say that on last week's pod, and I should have, because I really liked the way that his character stepped up and kind of rallied the troops.
Yeah.
So we definitely got that little foreshadowing.
Well, and so there were three people that were kind of fighting over baby Adam. You know, we had lost Tammy Faye, and so Earl was raising Adam alone, and Alden was kind of helping, and then Gamma appears and wants, you know, to assist in her nephew's upbringing, and that was really not going to work out. But seems like Alden kind of got left holding the bag, so to speak.
Right?
Yeah. This is your kid now, Alden. Congratulations, it's a boy.
So this kind of leads into writing potpourri, but Earl's death and Earl talking about Tammy and their son made me go back to the question with Sadiq. Are people truly gone, or are their spirits trapped in those shambling corpses, and do they have to be released?
Yes.
I don't have a good answer.
I don't either. Because controversial opinion, the Terry Schiavo case, the woman that
right.
Yes, that trapped in her own body, but like she had semi like eye movement and like some arm movement and things like that.
But there's a lot of argument that those things that we see in a permanent vegetative state are not really signs of consciousness.
Yeah, no, they're not voluntary or anything. It's just it's our body's, wacky nerve system or whatever. But
I don't think we know. I honestly don't think we know.
I also figure, walkers aside, if your brain is alive, then I don't know. I feel like your consciousness could be trapped somewhere, and whether you believe that is your soul or your consciousness or whatever, there's an energy inside you that needs to be reappropriated to the universe at large, and so. Yeah, maybe that's the way it is with walkers. How else do you explain skeletons walking around?
I read this really great book, and I'll have to look on my Kindle so I can remember what the book is and who it was by. It was actually an anthology of stories, and it was about exactly that, like zombies actually being people with a trapped consciousness watching their body decay.
Oh.
It was a good book. I'll have to try to find the name of it so I can share it.
I want to be cremated, by the way.
Yeah, I just want my tats to be preserved.
I need to find a Facebook post on Vintage Weird for you.
So there's actually a company in Scandinavia that will skin your tats off of your body and preserve them as wall art.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, everybody, I got a new tattoo this weekend. I'm pretty excited.
Are you going to tell them what it is?
Well, so I don't know how many people know, because it's really funny. I'll look at people and I'll say, well, do you know who Leonard Cohen is? And I get about a 50% response of yes. But it's a lyric from a Leonard Cohen song called Anthem. And it's really good. Really like that song a lot. It speaks a lot to me. I'll put the song up on Facebook. Are you still there?
Yep, I'm still here.
Oh, okay. For a minute there, I thought I lost you.
No, I was looking at something.
All right. Well, we're pretty firmly into rotting potpourri. And I've got to tell you, my first response tonight, or my first response to last night, rather, to kind of the opening of the episode was someone we love is going to die tonight.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually thought that there were going to be different and in some ways bigger deaths, so I was fairly surprised by who the deaths were.
Yeah,
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Oh, I'm just spreading virus everywhere.
Lucky dogs can't get coronavirus. Nabila really faked us out with her Twitter.
Well, and we don't know for sure if that's a fake out or if it was just an early tweet. It'll be interesting to see.
Right.
And Ezekiel is still on death watch. Rosita's still on death watch.
Michonne.
Yeah. But were you shocked about Gamma? Because you were just saying a couple weeks ago how great it was that it looks like Thora Birch is going to get incorporated into our group and we're going to have Gamma for so much longer.
I think I was saying I hope that happens. But she definitely was one on the chopping block. She was in my top 5.
Was she?
Yeah.
She was not on my radar. I actually was really hoping she was going to stay with the group.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be I thought it was gonna be Thora Birch. I didn't want it to be, but I thought it was gonna be Thora Birch and Nabila. And I completely discounted Alpha dying. Like I didn't. That's a last episode, or the episode right before the last episode.
Yeah,
kind of
I
thing.
totally thought it was going to be a season ender.
Not fifth from the end, you know? So the next 4 episodes should be very interesting.
I will say that Carol's face at the end of the cold open was so hopeless and devastated. I really liked the way Melissa McBride played that.
I liked the part where Yumiko and Magna are sitting on the tree talking, and Carol looks over at Magna and, you know, sees her exhausted, bloody face, and the emotion, I mean, you could just see it flash across her face, and she was ashamed of what she had done. Like, it was instantaneous guilt. And then, of course, Yumiko comes over and yells at her and everything. It kind of ruins the moment. But
and how are we supposed to feel about her getting punched in the face?
Carol took it like a champ. Like, I'm okay with it. Like, she deserved it, and she's fine. So I'm gonna go with okay.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel. I'm still, I'm kind of holding out for Connie, so we'll see what happens with Connie before I weigh in on how I feel about Carol.
God, could you imagine being out there all alone, wandering with a horde, and you're deaf?
Right.
Ugh. The only thing that would be worse, I think, would be being blind. But Sandra Bullock did it in Bird Box, so.
Which I haven't watched, so.
I mean, if you are quarantining, there's really nothing on Netflix worth checking out, but
I've got a lot more stuff on my watch list. I still have to finish Hunters on Netflix. Or, I mean, on Amazon.
I did start listening to Angry Americans.
Yeah? Do you love it? Isn't he great?
Yeah. I'm like 3 episodes in, but I also skipped to the most recent episode today and listened to that.
Yeah, I know. It's totally cool to skip around.
Yeah.
But he's a great interviewer, and he gets some really good guests.
He is. Yeah. I loved... got one more funny name in to Beta. Frowny McTwo Knives.
Frowny McTwo Knives. That was pretty funny. And he used Stabby McTwo Knives earlier in the season, right?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the other one that he used.
And then Frankenstein's Hemorrhoid. That was a good one. I need to go back and, like, when I rewatch the season, I need to write all of them down because they are super funny. And I'm really hoping, or I'm really thinking that is the last one we will hear out of, I mean, unless he stands over Beta's dead body and has one more in him.
I do have to say that if this is the end of Negan's arc, I'm really going to miss Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I was watching him when I was rewatching today, and I thought, he's Negan. He's really Negan. I mean... Do I think that it would have been awesome to have Henry Rollins play the character? Yeah, but boy, JDM is great.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, physically, Henry Rollins was the character, and he would have done a good job at a bad guy, but I like the JDM swagger.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just, I mean, it can't be matched. That other walker he was dancing with was trying. Yeah, so funny.
Well, another thing that I really thought about the second time through, that Aaron Negan interaction took on a totally different meaning with the second watch. It was like, no, Aaron, just wait, let him get it out, let him say it.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's funny is where they stopped and had their little confrontation, it really, really reminded me of the little house that they took refuge in when Aaron went blind and
Oh,
Negan saved
uh-huh.
him.
Yeah, I can
And
see that.
so I felt like that was kind of a callback to, no, dude, I am on your side. Remember, like, we were cool. I'm still cool. Just give me just a minute to go behead Alpha. I'll be right back.
And how different things would have turned out if Aaron had been able to get rid of Negan, if he'd attacked and killed Negan.
Well, and the only thing that saved either of them either way, because one of two things would have happened is Negan would have convinced him, look, this is what's going on. You can help. Or they would have had it out and I don't know, Negan may have killed Aaron. Maybe he would have just brained him and put him in that house where he was safe. But you had the added complication of having an unconscious Luke to drag around.
And you know, I didn't realize until just now that that was Luke. I finally put together that it was Luke.
I actually got it from the commercial that they aired. I had to pause it because I'm like, who is that? Oh, they're wearing a suit jacket. That's Luke. The only man still wearing a suit jacket in the zombie apocalypse.
Right.
Ugh.
So Gamma did successfully sacrifice herself. It was foreshadowed in the last episode, and she did it this time. And I think it was probably her guilt for surviving her sister, and I think it was also a desire to give Adam some kind of future.
Yeah.
Oh, so speaking of guilt, the walker under the leaves. For a minute there, I really thought Carol was going to go the way of her comic book counterpart and suicide by Walker.
Yeah, I think that was a tease to that. The
I
thing
totally
that I
think
got
it was.
that was my other laugh out loud moment is like the way that she like slapped away the hand, batted at the hand. It was kind of like she was batting at the hand of a grabby date, you know, just like stop it, you know.
And I didn't realize it, but I was trying to figure out what the heck she picked up. And it was only in doing some reading tonight that what she picked up. No, it was Henry's staff, but yeah, Henry's staff that Lydia was carrying.
Yeah.
I was like, is it a katana? Is it something trying to foreshadow Judith being hurt?
The thing that got me is like it was buried under the leaves. She's got eagle eyes, man.
Well, it is Carol.
Right? Those steely blues. Let's see. Another Neganism. I love how he refers to walkers as meat lovers now.
Yeah.
And when he was talking to Alpha, he was talking about Lucille, and she was beautiful no matter how frail she got. And even when her hair fell out and she was bald. And Negan made some references to, you know, the chrome dome look on Alpha. And so I'm like, maybe that actually really does it for him. You know, maybe that's a, you know.
I mean, I do think that he had an actual connection to Alpha. I don't think it was just infiltrating. I think there was more to it.
Yeah, and I think he had to, because I think she would have saw right through it if he didn't.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so speaking of Alpha, and since we're kind of close to the end of the episode, why was she so obsessed about turning Lydia into a guardian? Why did she think that Lydia was made for that? Was she trying to keep her with her?
Yes. Like, they have a sick relationship. I mean, she messed that girl up from before the apocalypse was happening, obviously. And I think that, I mean, she just would have, you know, I envision if the zombie apocalypse had never happened, that Alpha would have deteriorated anyway, and her husband would have wound up in a divorce. And I think he would have gotten custody of Lydia
We hope.
because, yeah, I just don't think Alpha, she kind of reminds me of the mom in the one of the second Carrie movies, not the first Carrie movie, but like who is like just painting this a streak of red around the room and telling your daughter that they're gonna go to hell, and like just like almost delusional. There's a mental health issue with Alpha from before the zombie apocalypse.
Oh,
so
definitely. Most definitely.
I mean, it just so happened to be the specific one that allowed her to flourish in the zombie apocalypse.
I will say, speaking of the ending, I was so angry at Negan because I totally thought he was going to give Lydia up to Alpha. And the way...
I didn't.
You didn't?
No, I did not fall for that one bit.
The way that it built, though, I love the way that they used the music to build it and flashing on Lydia struggling to get out of that chair. And I just thought that it would really built really well, and I was pretty majorly angry with Negan.
Yeah, my first thought when he took her away is like, he's like, okay, he's going to use her as bait, but he's not going to let anything happen to her. And then when they're approaching the shack and they keep flashing on Lydia getting out of her binds, I'm like, they would hear that. Lydia's not in that shack. This is a total setup. Lydia's someplace else. And sure enough. But wow.
Yeah, I gotta say, I was sucked in. I was fooled.
Yeah, Negan's not so cold and dead inside as he thinks he is.
Yeah, that was kind of my upshot, too.
He still has a soft spot for the kids.
Yep.
And especially kids who have been bullied. And he also has, in the books, his whole issue, was, I believe, I don't know if it was remember if it was like the rape of a younger woman or if it was just the rape, because Alpha, just let them be animals and that's how it's done. And
I'm pretty sure she let them rape Lydia, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that was actually part of the catalyst.
Yeah.
So definitely an interesting change to the story arc.
Well, I don't know that I have anything else for the episode. I do have the feedback from Steve if I can find it. Which, of course, now I'm fumbling through Facebook and can't find it.
I think I got it. Let's see. Getting out of Vintage Weird. There's Steven. He says, hey, DNM. I like that.
Yep.
Great Walking Dead episode this week. I can't wait to hear you guys break it down. I love that Negan basically confirmed his membership on the Cold and Dead Inside Society. Marnell knows what I'm talking about. Yep. Lots of good stuff with Judith and Daryl, possibly setting up life in the post-Michonne world? Question mark, question mark, question mark. You have figured out that Gamma, Mary, was toast as soon as she had her big nephew. She held her nephew. Shame on Alden for not shooting Beta
there
first.
There you go. That's where I saw it.
Amen. I was really hoping that Magna was dead. Really? Aw.
Yeah, he wants the cast to be winnowed down. He's not very particularly attached to the newbies.
Yeah, he said, keep thinning down the cast. Oh, well, you can't get all that you want. Oh, and you gals, please try to help me understand exactly what the heck Carol has been doing this whole time with Negan on the undercover mission. Take it one dead day at a time and always aim for the head. And for God's sake, wash your hands.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think I speculated on the last episode because I had actually seen it in a couple of articles and a couple of YouTube videos that it was Carol that let Negan out of his cell and there was a deal struck. I mean, what would have been the other motivator for Negan just to be like, hey, I'm going to join the Whisperers? You know?
Yeah.
It's not really his scene.
It definitely, I did find myself playing the whole season, the game of what is Negan's angle.
Mm-hmm.
And I never was able to figure it out, so I was sucked in. Sucked in!
Season 10 has been really, really great. I actually cannot wait to finish it and then go back and rewatch it with all of the foreknowledge that I've gained. And just look at people's behaviors and everything. So we'll have to do a recap with Aim for the Head.
I definitely want to do that at the end of the season.
I do. And then we're doing Night of the Comet with Steve, at least.
Well, I don't think I have a whole lot else. I think I'm going to edit in the morning. I'm going to take some NyQuil and go down for the rest of the night, I think.
That sounds good.
I do want to say, so I shared the fundraiser for the dog Cowboy Sammy on the Biters page. Thank you to anyone and everyone from my various groups of friends who contributed. We got about $1,200 for Cowboy Sammy's medical expenses. He has an appointment with the vet tomorrow morning, and I think that he's going to be just fine, and he'll go back to his mom tomorrow night.
Which is awesome, because if we're all going to have to stay in our homes for at least 2 weeks, having dogs is awesome.
Well, and I gotta tell you, this lady is so incredibly emotionally fragile that I think it would just do her in to lose her dog. So I'm really, really grateful to everybody who stepped up to help out.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I guess not a lot until next week. Everybody stay safe.
Help each other out.
Don't hoard toilet paper.
Go to the news sources like the WHO and the CDC for your medical information.
Yes, or your state's epidemiology or public health website.
Yes. Be kind to each other. Try and help someone out if they need it. And I guess until then, just remember, take it one dead day at a time.
All right.
Have a good week, everybody.
Bye.